Hello, guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Monster Families. This one's really not so much a monster. It's a trap. It's called a gargoyle trap. Gargoyle traps are odd to me. Like, they're basically inanimate objects. They sit there and they just endlessly fire what seems to be a firebolt. Not a fireball, but just a firebolt at you repeatedly. They have relatively, mediocre HP, but, not so bad that they're, impossible to kill, or are not, easy to kill. They have 10k, which is about double what you would have on a normal monster in hell difficulty. I mean, they're left behind. It's there's really not a lot to go over here, so let's just read what it says. Gargoyle trap, left behind by paranoid mages to safeguard their treasure troves from prying fingers. These enchanted sentries animate and emit fireballs at those who approach too closely. An interesting quirk of these guardians is that they are not activated by proximity of the many monsters that roam the areas where they are found. This has led many sages to speculate that they have been created even before mankind knew of the existence of demons. Tips and other additional informations: shoots fireballs. Doesn't seem like fireballs, they seem like firebolts, but maybe they are firebolts. You cannot life leech or mana leech from gargoyle traps, and gargoyle traps that do not regenerate health. There's also another interesting thing about this, from what I remember, is you cannot break their cold immunity, even if you have a Sunder Charm. If I remember correctly, unless they fix this, gargoyle traps are essentially always cold immune no matter what. They can't be broken by any source. They can't be cursed, as far as I'm aware. We can always test that really quickly. They can't really be affected by most debuffs because they're not really monsters. I don't know what they are. They're just constructs, I guess. And all they do is just sit there and attack, endlessly at you for forever. Their graphic in the original game and their graphic in the new game are pretty close together. I mean, obviously a little bit more detail there. But they come in a variety of number as well. So, in this particular case, it's obviously in the center of this area for you to get shot at. But they often will spawn in numbers of 1, 2, 3, sometimes even 4 gargoyle traps at the same time. Another interesting thing about these is that they do give experience points, and they can be used to level up low-level characters. I've heard of a couple cases where somebody tried to get a character to nightmare or hell difficulty at level 1 and wanted to see if they could level up in hell difficulty as a level 1 character. And of course, there were not very many monsters that you could kill as a level 1 character, but apparently this gargoyle trap was the character that you could potentially kill. Mainly because they just don't regenerate health. So you take a little while. It does take a little while, but eventually you kill one and you can actually get some crazy resistances or EXP from them. Going by their stats here, it says they have no physical resistance, no magical resistance, no fire resistance, no lightning resistance, no poison resistance. Their drain effectiveness is 0, which means you can't leech from them, and they're always immune to cold. It says they have 70 cold resistance in normal, 100 cold resistance in nightmare, and I don't know if this is a typo, but 1,000 cold resistance in hell difficulty. Maybe this explains why, for some reason or another, that Sunder Charms don't work on them. Maybe the number is just too high. I don't know how it's set up, but maybe they didn't account for a 4th digit, and maybe what it's doing is it's setting them to 95, but instead of setting them to 95%, maybe it's setting them to 1,095%, essentially bringing them up because a 4th digit wasn't even considered at that point. Oh, and this is an inanimate object that has a 16% chance to block you, by the way, which is something that's kind of surprised me across the board, is that a lot of things in this game that probably shouldn't have block do indeed have block, which is really freaking weird to me. How can an inanimate object that doesn't move block your attack? I don't know, but apparently it has a 16% chance. I don't believe these appear in the Act 5 guest monster list, but let's go check anyway, because I could be wrong. So no gargoyle trap in the G's, so no. There are other versions of this, and I'll probably make other videos on this, but we could potentially combine these two together because there really isn't enough to talk about when it comes to the gargoyle trap. So you know what? Let's do that, and let's combine together the gargoyle trap with the other trap that you will find in Act 2 called the Fire Tower, which is pretty much like the big daddy of the Gargoyle trap. The Fire Tower has a lot more HP. If you compare the HP of these two, the Gargoyle trap only has about 10,434 HP. Where the Fire Tower has 89,454 HP. Roughly about 9 times the HP as the Gargoyle trap. And the Fire Tower is actually one of these things that I tend to use as a gauge for how good my DPS is doing at that particular point, because these guys are particularly hard to kill. And let's read what Ariat Plateau has to say on them. Originally created by wary caravan traders to act as unmanned sentries, these devices soon found favor among anyone who was interested in safeguarding their domicile. Although they were designed to emit fireballs whenever magical field was crossed, these fields do not seem to activate when crossed by demons. Unfortunately, this makes the Fire Tower totally ineffective as a defensive measure against the minions of hell. Fire towers take some time to turn around, run around it, and firing directly away from you. Hit it a few times until it has turned 90 degrees, and then run around it to the other side so that you are right behind the direction it just fired. So you basically just avoid the shots. Fire towers drop no items and give little experience. Honestly, I've actually seen that they give a lot of experience. I think I'm going to disagree there. I've actually tested this. Fire towers and lightning. Actually, you know what? That's another one we can bring up is the lightning towers. Those also tend to give a lot of EXP. I've actually checked this number by number, and for some reason or not, these guys seem to give a lot of EXP. Have a lot of life, are highly resistant to almost every kind of attack so that players avoid them, and you cannot steal life or mana from fire towers. They also have a 46% chance to block for some reason, which is a lot. It's way more than the other one. Damage resistance apparently is 90% in normal and nightmare, and it actually drops in hell difficulty down to 40%. Magic resistance is 90 and 90 in normal and nightmare, but drops to 50 in hell difficulty. And across the board seems to be a very interesting equation there. So 90-90, and then hell difficulty, it's 99% resistant to fire. Cold resistant is 85% in hell difficulty, but 0 in others. Lightning, 50% resistant, but 0 in others. And then poison resistant, they are 1000% poison resistant in hell difficulty. So, interesting. In general, these guys tend to be only in Act 2, as far as I'm aware. There's usually one in front of Claw Viper Temple, if you go that particular direction. So, when you're traveling around through the desert, you will usually find one either in Lost City, or you will find one at the doorway to the Claw Viper Temple. Sometimes they also appear inside the Claw Viper Temple and inside some of the tombs. It's a little bit more rare, but you usually find them as you're roaming around here or there in some of the city areas. Let's see if we can find one of them for this video. My personal thing is every time I see one, I almost always try to kill it. Like, my thing is that if I can't kill a fire tower effectively, then I feel like I haven't really built my character properly. So, like, I usually try to kill these things. I also, because they fire off in a spread pattern, I usually also feel like they're relatively easy to avoid damage for. Sometimes, depending on their location, they might not be as easy to avoid. But they have a spread on it, so it's not like you really even have to worry about getting hit most of the time. Like, you can kind of stand directly in the area where the shot is going to miss you. And they do turn around, so you can actually just avoid the fire in that way. As you can see, these are immune to poison. They're not something that you're going to really come across all that often once you leave Act 2. I'm pretty sure they don't appear in the guest list. And for the most part, they're just non-existent after Act 2. I just like killing them whenever I see them, and they definitely fall in line with the gargoyle traps. The only other type of construct that I'm aware of in the game is the Arcane Sanctuary Lightning Towers. which shoot lightning at you. And we can pull up the page for that as well. Let me see if I can find one of them first. They are usually at least on one of the 3 sides, if not sometimes at the end of each individual side. There we go. We've got one right now. No, don't kill it. So the lightning towers, or the lightning spires, shoot essentially a lightning bolt at you. And they also have little gargoyles around the base, which is interesting. Let's pull up their page as well, since we're pulling up the pages for each individual ones. We've got the lightning spire. The lightning spire left behind by paranoid sorcerers to safeguard their sanctuaries from thieves. These enchanted spires emit bolts of lightning. Those who approach too closely. An interesting quirk is that these guardians is that they are not activated by the proximity of monsters that roam in the area. Seems pretty common about these traps. They don't seem to want to destroy monsters. Tips and other additional information. Lightning spires are highly resistant to many kind of attacks, so it'll take a while to destroy them. Try to stay out of range of the lightning spire when fighting other monsters. Lightning spires drop no items, and some players just avoid them. I don't avoid them because I know how much EXP they give. As you can see in Hell difficulty, they give 406,307. The Gargoyle traps give 107,000, and the fire traps, or the fire towers, give 380,649. To put that in perspective, like, let's look at something other, like a greater mummy. So a greater mummy in Hell difficulty gives, what, 149,000 EXP? So essentially, like something like the Lightning Spire, which is giving 406,000, is giving many times more EXP for just one kill. And I find that these guys are definitely worth killing if you're trying to EXP your characters up, and especially if it's a terror zone, because the EXP that they give goes up. And if you have other things like EXP bonuses. As you can see, they have a 46% chance to block. Apparently, inanimate objects just have the ability to block all attacks for some reason. No physical damage reduction, but 90% magical reduction, 90% fire reduction, 70% cold, but apparently only in normal difficulty for some reason. And then they go back to 0 in Nightmare in Hell. And then they have immunity to lightning in Nightmare in Hell, and complete immunity to poison of 1,000% in the rest of the game, essentially. The towers are generally immune to lightning and poison, as you can see here, which usually means that they can't be immune to anything else either, which I don't think there's any way for them to be immune to anything else, but that's definitely a thing. There is actually one other construct, but it's not the kind of construct that shoots things. It's actually the kind of construct that, like, puts out little baby monsters. And I think we should probably save that one for another video. We'll save that for the mummy video. Overall, when it comes to these constructs, like the Lightning Spire, the Gargoyle Trap, and the Fire Tower, they are avoidable. You can obviously run by them. They don't follow you, they do aggro you, and they do shoot things at you, but for the most part, like, you don't have to fight them if you don't want to. I do recommend killing them, though, because the EXP that they give in Hell difficulty, especially in terrorized zones, is pretty significant. I can't really show you because this character is level 99, but when I was doing a level 99 run, and I was like level 98 trying to level up to level 99, and I was in a terrorized arcane sanctuary in players 8, and I killed one of these things, so much EXP. So much EXP. And obviously, depending on the character that you are, they're not particularly very difficult to kill. It depends on the element that you're dishing out. So obviously, if you're dishing out lightning damage or poison damage, things might be a little bit difficult for you if you don't have a way to break that. And the same thing goes for some of the other ones. But they are particularly weak to physical damage, so if you are a physical damage character, you can pretty much just burn right through them. However, they do have 46% chance to block, so it might be a little bit hard to hit them. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching. Be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button if you enjoy the content. And as always, keep watching.